What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be ranking all the heroes in Marvel Rivals on a tier list based off of how skilled you have to be in order to use them. Now, I got this idea from one of my TikTok videos where someone said that Scarlet Witch is not a brain-dead hero and actually takes a lot of skill to use. And safe to say that not a lot of people agreed with that statement, and I don't really either. But it gave me the idea for this video, so it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully no one gets mad at this video. I mean, I know what I'm talking about, so I don't miss. If there's any other type of gaming / Marvel Rivals content you want to see, go ahead and let me know in the comments, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But until then, leave a like and subscribe, and let's cue that intro. Alright, so first up is Adam Warlock, and I'm going to put him in the skill tier to start off. I think the reason why is because, unlike Luna Stone, Cloak, and Dagger, he doesn't heal with his primary fire. He heals with an ability, which has a cooldown, so you already have to worry about that. He also has his Soul Bond, which can distribute damage taken to everyone that is bonded and turn it into health. But, again, it has a cooldown. So you're already managing cooldowns just to heal, and that can be really tough. But he also does a lot of great damage with his burst ability. If you're able to hit headshots, you're going to be able to take people down to 50% health if you're hitting all your headshots. But that's if you are. And it takes skill to do that. So I think putting him in the middle of skilled is a good place to start. Okay, so number 2 is Black Panther. And to really master this guy and to get the best out of him, you got to be cracked. Your skill ceiling has to be huge. And the reason why is because you're constantly dashing around, you're hitting people with your spears, and you're doing it all over again, and you're always in the back line, so you have to be careful not to die, honestly. If the whole team is crowding on you, you can still get away, but it takes a lot of skill to do that. And unfortunately, his ult doesn't do a lot of damage, so you're already dealing with that against you almost. But if you're nailing your combos, you're hitting your ult at the right time, and you're able to get away back and forth, you're really good as Black Panther. And I've played against some amazing Black Panthers, and it makes me want to quit the game every single time. So Black Panther, if you really want to master him, you have to be cracked. Up next is Black Widow, and believe it or not, I think you got to be pretty skilled to use Black Widow. Now, a lot of people don't, and I get it. She's probably the worst character in the game. So if you're not using her, I get it. I don't really use her either. But if you're using her and you're getting her down, she could be really, really good on your team. Now, obviously, you have to hit your headshots. That's a big one. You're a sniper. You know, you got to do it. But she also has great escapability with her dash. And in hand-to-hand combat, she can hold her own for probably a little bit before someone else comes and finishes you off. You can knock someone up, pull them back and shoot them, or just run away or run up to them and hit them with your batons. So I think it does take skill to really use her properly, but just not a lot of people use her, so there's not a really big sample size. Okay, so next up is Captain America, and I think I'm going to put him in the easy tier. I don't think he takes as much skill as the people on top of him. So, obviously, you're a dive tank, but you do a really good job at coming back and protecting your team like a frontline tank. As a dive tank, you're back there, you know, you're throwing your shield, you're bashing, and you're just trying to get as much damage on the healers as possible. But if the whole team is crowding on you, you're kind of cooked, if I'm being honest. Obviously, you can go back and try to protect your team, but your shield isn't that big, so you don't get that big of a radius anyway. His ultimate, getting in there and getting some hits in, it does let you do that more, but again, you're barely going to die while using it, so popping it, running in there, and doing some damage is not that hard. So, I don't like doing it, but I think Captain America belongs in the easy tier. Next up is Cloak and Dagger, and you guys are probably going to say, oh, they have auto-aim, you don't have to do anything with them. No. Top of skilled, and I don't want to hear it. You're playing two characters at once, and I get it. They have roughly the same skill set, but you have to find a good mix between healing and damage, because you'll find a lot of Cloak and Dagger mains, especially in the high elos, can get a lot of kills and a lot of heals, and that's not easy to do. You can average 20 kills and 20 assists and have over 20k healing. It's possible. I've done it. But it does take a lot of skill to do that. Obviously, you're flipping between your Cloak and Dagger form. When you're Cloak, you need to be hitting people with your wall and doing damage to everything around you. You need to shoot the unks and all the traps placed around your team. And as Dagger, obviously, you need to be following your tanks, making sure they stay alive, and just checking your backline and making sure no one's dying either. So it can be really challenging. I'm going to leave them in skilled because I know if I put them higher, I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that. So, top of skilled for now. If I want to piss people off, I'll probably put them in really skilled. Alright, so next up is Doctor Strange. And he definitely belongs in the really skilled tier. I think you have to be really good in order to learn this character and get him right. So, his role as a standard tank is to protect his team, help them move up and back, and do lots of damage while doing that. His main attack is him shooting strands of Magik, but if you mix that with your melee attack, you can do tons of damage, and it charges your Maelstrom ability even quicker. He can fly away from people or fly up to vantage points to block people off, or if you have a Hela ult and you want to mess with them, just fly in front of them and do this to them. His portals are obviously insane, and you'll see a lot of Doctor Strange highlights because of the skill it takes to use this character correctly. You have your ultimate ability, which is one of the best in the game, stunning everyone inside it as long as they're not getting Luna Snow ulted or Cloak and Dagger ulted or anyone like that. You have the chance for some really crazy combos, and like I said, with your portals, you could do anything with those things. So he has a lot of versatility, and I think that's why he belongs in the really skilled tier. Alright, so next up is Groot, and Groot is going to go in the really skilled tier. And for me, it's entirely because of the versatility he has with his walls. So, obviously, you can do almost anything with them. You can block people off from the objective, you can push them against it and do tons of damage to them with the walls, or you could just use them as stairs if you really want to. You can do anything with them. And if you combine your ultimate with your walls, you could do tons and tons of damage, more than you would get just without the walls. So, knowing where to put them is the really big thing, and that's why he belongs in the really skilled tier. If you're not putting them in the right places, or if they're getting destroyed too quickly, you're not really contributing to the team enough. So, knowing where to put them, knowing how to use them can be really big, and that's why I think he belongs in the really skilled tier. Up next is Hawkeye, and he's going to go in the easy tier, in front of Captain America. So, obviously with Hawkeye, you have to be hitting your headshots, and he does have the arrow drop. He doesn't have hit scan, so his arrows will start to fall down. But that's really all it is. He has his sword, which he's able to do decent melee damage and push people away, and he does have his double jump. But at the end of the day, you're really just aiming for headshots, and that's all you really got to do. It's not that hard. And he has his charge shot, which did get nerfed, but if you're close enough and you're getting your charge shot, you'll be able to get headshot kills every single time. So, pretty standard character, not that hard to figure out and master, so easy for now. Okay, up next is Hela, and I think I'm going to put her in the skill tier, I'm going to put her here. So she's more skilled than these two. So, with Hela, you have to hit your headshots, and your attacks do hit scans. So if you click on someone's head, it'll hit that person's head. So you have to be perfect with her shots in order to hit them. She does a lot of damage. She can melt anyone from DPSs to tanks. She can fly around and get away from people. She can hit burst damage to do even more damage to people. Her ult is obviously really, really good. Unless there's a Doctor Strange on the enemy team, then you're cooked. So, the reason why she's in skilled and not in easy is because you kind of have to hit your headshots. Because if you're getting chased by a Hulk and you're hitting him in the chest, or anyone really, you're not going to be able to kill them. So, nailing your headshots with Hela is really big. And there's a reason why she's always banned, or at least was. And that's because of that damage. So, if you're able to hit your headshots with her, you are really skilled. Okay, so next up is Hulk. And to really master Hulk, you gotta be cracked. Like, you have to be really, really good in order to get Hulk down. So, his kit is very, very versatile. Obviously, he can leap in and out of the fight to get in, do some damage, and then come back and get healed, and just do it all over again. His abilities consist of, obviously, his main attack is just punching. But he has the Scream, which can stun people. He has the Clap, which can do long-range damage. And he has the shield that can shield him and the allies around him from any big attack, which is pretty crazy. So he brings a lot to the team, but it could be a lot to figure out for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So to master Hulk, you have to be really, really good at this game. And I think that's why he belongs to the crack tier. Alright, so up next is Invisible Woman. and I'm just going to stick her in the skill tier. I think she is good in between those four. So she offers a lot of versatility with her healing and her damage. She does a lot of great damage as a healer. So obviously your primary fire could do both. It heals whoever it hits on your team and damages whoever it hits on the other team. So if everyone's grouped up together in a big team fight, all you have to do is use your primary fire. You're going to get a bunch of heals and a bunch of damage. She also has her shield, in which she can heal her allies who are standing behind it and obviously protect them from attacks. But once it breaks, it's on cooldown, so you have to use it at the right time. When it comes to her offense, she has a push and pull ability that can either push enemies away or bring them in. And it also does damage to them as well. And you should be using it to get easy picks. She also has her orb, in which when she throws it and you're standing in it, it does a pretty good amount of damage. So you want to put those on the middle of the team fights or on choke points for people to be scared to commit to going through it. And obviously her ultimate is really good. Everyone inside is getting healed while they're invisible to everyone on the outside. So if there's a Star-Lord ult going on, you use it and he's deemed pretty useless. So very versatile kit, and if you're able to use it correctly, you're pretty skilled with her. Okay, so up next is Iron Fist, and honestly I think he's at the top of really skill tier. He's definitely takes more skill than those two. So with Iron Fist, he can essentially live in the enemy backline for as long as he wants, or until he's hunted down and finally dies. He could fly, basically. If you're double jumping or triple jumping, you can go anywhere on the map. He has his long range kick where he'll dash and kick to you. He has his punch ability where he's just constantly throwing punches and deflecting hits as well. And he could heal himself. Obviously it has a long cooldown, but if he's running away, he can hide, heal, and just go back into a fight. And obviously his ultimate is really, really good. If you're in the back line and you're hitting enemies with your ultimate, they're going to die. So it does take a lot of skill to get it correctly, because if you're just jumping in there blindly hoping to get a couple hits in, you're going to die. So knowing how to use his kit can be really hard, and that's why he's going to go in the really skill tier. Okay, so up next is Iron Man, and he's definitely the easiest character that I've listed so far. The reason why he's not at the bottom is because there are certain points where you are going to have to fly in pretty close to hit your uni beam, and doing that can be a little tough since you're a glass cannon. Like, you're very easy to kill. But essentially, you're just flying around. You can fly up as high as you want and just shoot enemies from the top, and it could be really hard to kill you. But it's not that hard to just go up, get a couple shots in, reload, and just do it all over again. And then obviously your ult is just one giant blast that can kill everyone if it hits everyone. So pretty self-explanatory. Iron Man, he's pretty easy to use. Now we have Jeff, and Jeff is without a doubt the easiest character in the game to use. So his kit is very dull. All he does is shoot bubbles, and he can go underground to swim away, right? His primary fire is a pretty good heal, if I'm being honest. It can go from super far range, and he does a decent amount of damage if you're hitting your shots with a spitball, but it's not that hard to figure out. Obviously his ultimate is pretty good. You can go in there, bite as many people as you want, and then just spit them out wherever you want. But it's a very, very, very simple kit, and honestly I feel like anyone who wants to learn the game would just go to Jeff, try him out for a bit, and then try someone else. So yeah, Jeff at the bottom is fine for me. Now we go from Jeff to Loki, and Loki, he's going to go in the really skilled tier. You have to be really good with him in order to master him. And I think it comes down to his clones. You have to know where to put them, or else you're not going to be able to benefit as much from him. Obviously, you do a lot of great heals with them and a lot of great damage. When you pop his rune, you are immune to any attack as long as the rune is still above you and you're in its AoE. He can go invisible and dash away from anyone. If you are hit or you attack while invisible, you will come out of being invisible, and there's a pretty decent cooldown. And his ultimate is the best in the game. You can copy anyone's ult, so that's already a plus. But it's all about the clones. You have to know where to put them. If you're not placing them correctly, you're not going to be able to perform, basically, against anyone else. So, that being said, you have to be really skilled in order to use Loki correctly. Alright, next up is Luna Snow, and I think I'm going to put her in the really skilled tier right behind Groot. And mainly because you have to hit your shots in order to heal. Obviously, if you have your snowflake on someone and you're healing someone else, it'll heal the person with a snowflake on them, but you still have to hit your shots. You can amplify your shots to do more damage and more healing, but you have to hit your shots. She can freeze people to give your team a better shot to kill them. Obviously, her ult is probably the best in the game, not counting Loki, and it lasts for a very long time. So as long as you have that on and you're running around someone, you'll be able to heal them with no problem. But for me, it's about hitting the shots. You have to be able to nail them in order to heal your teammates, and some people just can't do that. So that being said, at the very end of really skilled, I think she's just on top of Cloak and Dagger. Up next is Magik, and Magik is definitely in the cracked tier. I think you have to be really, really good to use her. So when using Magik, you have to be jumping in the back line, doing massive amounts of damage, and hitting your combos without dying. And that can be really, really hard. I've seen some Magik players jump in, get a healer lacking, and kill them in one attack while they still have full health. And it could be insane to watch sometimes. And she can be really, really hard to kill. So with Magik, you're jumping in with your portal, which you can't get hit in while you're portaling. You go in, slash, do as much damage as you can, and just hop back out. And it can be really fun to watch. She can drop a minion in the portal as well instead of slashing, which will do some damage if you're standing close to it, but usually Magik players are just going in for the slash. She can do a long range attack in which she throws a light attack at you with her sword, and it could do a good amount of damage, but you need to be in there constantly hitting people over and over and over in order to get the best out of her. And her ult, she just amplifies all her abilities, so she does it even better. So to get Magik down packed, you have to be really, really good with her. So I put her in the cracked tier. Next up is Magneto, and I'm going to put Magneto in the skill tier, probably above Hela right there. So for Magneto, he has a lot of offensive potential, but you have to remember that you are still a tank. You still have to stay in front of your team and protect them and help them move back and forth. So he has his shield, the massive shield that he puts in front of him that blocks anything in front of him. And he can put a shield on top of himself or on allies to protect them from incoming damage. So you have to know when and where to put that shield in order to protect your guys. For offense, he has his magnet cannon in which when he hits someone when it's fully charged, it'll knock them back and do tons of damage, or if there's anyone in the sky, it'll knock them back down to the ground. So you have to use that wisely, and you have to let it charge. And his ultimate, a lot of people don't really know how to use it. They kind of just pop it and then throw it. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hold it for as long as possible and then throw it. But you can also use it as a defense tool against other ultimates. If you see a Star-Lord, a Punisher, an Iron Man ready to ult on you, use yours and it'll absorb it. And it'll either absorb the damage to be thrown back at enemies or just take the ult away in general. So he has a lot of great offensive capabilities, but you have to remember that he is still a tank. And if you're able to do that, you're pretty skilled. Up next is Mantis, and Mantis is going to go in the really skilled tier, probably behind the Groot in front of the Luna Snow. So for Mantis, her kit revolves around her life orbs. She gives them out to heal and gives them out to give damage buffs to her teammates. But you have to be careful on how much you're giving to one teammate. You have to pass them around because they regenerate every 3 seconds. So if you're just giving all of them to one guy at the same time, he will not die, but the rest of the team is not getting their heals. And it's the same with the damage buff. One person's getting buffed while the others aren't getting it. So you have to be careful on who you're giving it to and how much you're using, and watch out for the cooldown. You also can damage boost yourself, and Mantis actually does a lot of damage when she hits her headshots. So a damage buffed Mantis hitting headshots can be a real problem. And you also have your sleep ability, in which you can knock out a diving Black Panther or Magik and give yourself some time to escape. What people don't know is that you can actually shoot the little ghost that comes out when you use it to wake the person up, and it's kind of funny that no one really remembers that. Her ultimate is really good at keeping people alive, and it gives them a movement boost, kind of like Luna Snow, but not as good. So to be really good at Mantis, you have to watch out for your life orbs. You have to pass them around correctly and make sure that your team is getting the right heals they need and damage buffs that they need, while you're also doing tons of damage. Because yes, you need to be doing damage as Mantis. You have that damage buff and you have the headshot damage. You have to capitalize on that. So mashing all that together, I think you need to be really skilled to use Mantis. Up next is Moon Knight, and honestly, I think Moon Knight's pretty easy. So obviously, a lot of people probably agree with me here. Moon Knight is one of the easier characters in the game, but he does so much damage, so it's like you're gonna keep using him over and over. So the whole point with Moon Knight is you need to hit your headshots and you need to use your unks correctly. If you use your unks correctly and they're not being destroyed, you're gonna do tons and tons of damage. As for your headshots, if you hit someone with a headshot, it'll deflect to someone next to them and also do really good damage to them. So Moon Knight is a damage machine. He's just not that hard to figure out. His ult is a lot better now when it increased the radius in the update. Before it was pretty bad. Now I would say it's really good. But yeah, I don't think Moon Knight is that difficult to learn. As long as you're hitting your headshots and you're getting your unks in places where they can't be destroyed, you're going to have a good time with Moon Knight. Alright, next up is Mr. Fantastic, and he for me is someone who you could pick up pretty easily, but it takes a lot to really figure him out, you know? So he does a lot for your team. He can go up there, take lots of damage. He can do lots of damage back. He has some pretty simple abilities that do a lot for him. And he's just very versatile. His ultimate's a lot of fun. You're jumping around. You're doing a lot of damage to the enemy team. You can grab people and bring them back into your backline so you can get them for an easy kill. You can absorb all the damage that's coming towards your team. So he's very versatile. Like I said, he's easy to pick up, but it takes a lot to figure him out. So mixing the easy abilities with the tougher to figure out, I think he goes right in the middle in skilled. Next up is Namor, or Namor, whatever you want to call him. And he's pretty easy, guys. He's pretty easy. He's harder than Moon Knight, but I think he's pretty easy. He essentially, you have to just get your Monstro spawns up, your octopuses, put them in places where they're hard to reach, stand in the back line, keep aiming your tridents and hit your shots, and you'll be okay. He has this charged one where if you hit it, the octopuses will do a charged shot that does even more damage, and if you're hitting your ult, you could be a real problem. Now, I do think that Namor is one of the best characters in the game right now, so him being in the easy tier doesn't mean he's bad. Same with Iron Man. Like, he is not a bad character. He's just easy to learn. So there obviously is some mastery to him, but to figure him out and really learn him, he's pretty easy. Next up is Peni Parker, and I'll be honest, she's grown on me a bit. I've been using her more in ranked, and I've been doing pretty well with her. I'm going to put her in the back of skilled because although you do need skill to use her, she's probably easier than a Magneto, a Doctor Strange, or anyone in front of her, really. So you have to put your nest in a good spot. That's the only way you're going to be able to win with her. The nest, when people walk on it, mines will come out and they'll do massive amounts of damage to them. And you can also shoot out your own mines, which you can cover with a web that'll hide the mines away from other people. She's really good at moving around quickly. If you're running on the web that your nest creates, you'll have a higher movement speed buff, and you could zip around everywhere too to get around quicker. But she could be pretty easy. She's easy to pick up, and she could be very easy to master, but you do need some skill, as in learning where to put your stuff in order to capitalize on her. Now we have Psylocke, and Psylocke for me is a pretty easy character to pick up, but she's pretty hard to master. So saying that, I'm gonna put her in between the Luna Snow and the Mantis there in the really skilled tier. So for Psylocke, obviously her ult is really good, but it's pretty beginner friendly. All you have to do is jump in there and press a button, and it's gonna be able to kill everyone inside for you, or at the very least pop an enemy ultimate to save them. She does good damage when sneaking up behind everybody, but when you're behind the enemy backline, you have to know where the health packs are, because the healers on your own team won't be able to reach you as long as you're doing your job and staying in the backline. So she's a great dive character, if I'm being honest. If you're feeling like just soloing everybody, this is the character for you, but you just have to have good map awareness, know where the health packs are, and know when to pick a fight. Alright, so next up is Rocket. And if I'm being honest, I think I'm going to move Jeff up one tier because I think Rocket is easier than Jeff. He's probably the easiest character to learn and the easiest character to master. Now this guy is really good. I would say he's probably maybe the third best healer in the game right now in Season 1. but he is super easy to learn. You hang back behind your line, you shoot the health balls at him, and that's all you're really doing. If you have a Punisher or a Winter Soldier on your team, you're throwing down your damage buff for them so they don't run out of ammo. His ult is okay. It gives you the damage buff, which, I mean, it could be good. If you're running a 3 support set, I think he's crucial, because if you have 2 massive supports on your team already who have great ultimates, his is a pretty good ultimate because you're just helping the team get some kills. But essentially, you're just running around the back line, shooting your health balls, and just being a nuisance, if I'm being honest. He has his jetpack, and he can crawl on walls, so he's pretty hard to kill. But with all that being said, yeah, Rocket's definitely the easiest character in the game. Alright, so next up is Scarlet Witch, and I don't think she's the easiest character in the game. She's the second. She's the second, behind Rocket Raccoon. Or in front of Rocket Raccoon. So, for Scarlet Witch, obviously she has the auto aim, so you're just walking up to people and doing massive amounts of damage, and you're able to get some pretty easy kills with it. You're also able to shoot some balls at them that do a pretty good amount of damage as well. You're able to fly away and go invisible at the same time, so they cannot hit you at all. You have an orb in which when you hit someone, they can get stunned in it twice, as long as the orb is still up and they're in it. And that's pretty much it. The only reason why I think she's higher than Rocket is because of the ult. So the ult is not as scary as it was at the beginning of the game. People know now to just run away or hide behind a wall. So it could be difficult to really get all the team wipes that people were getting at the beginning of the game. But if you're careful and you're flying over everyone and you're just slightly coming down, you're going to get a bunch of kills. But you also have to remember that you are very vulnerable while using it, because for a few seconds you cannot do anything unless charge your ult. So yeah, very good character. Just, bro, anyone can play this character. Now we go from one of the easiest characters in the game to undoubtedly the hardest character to master in the game, and that's Spider-Man. When the developers of your own game say that Spider-Man is the hardest character to master, he is the hardest character to master. This guy, he's a glass cannon. If you catch him, you're going to be able to kill him, but you cannot catch him. As long as they know what they're doing, they're just going to be zipping around you, doing constant damage, running back and forth, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Spider-Man is incredibly self-efficient. He goes to the health packs, he runs around, does crazy amounts of damage. When he gets his ult on you, oh my god, it's a team wipe almost every time if they know what they're doing. He's able to pick off squishy enemies. He's even able to deal with some of the stronger enemies. As long as you're not caught, you're gonna have a great time with Spider-Man. But the skill ceiling is probably through the roof. I would say that if Hulk's here, Spider-Man's like probably up here. So undoubtedly the most cracked character in the game is Spider-Man. Alright, so next up is Squirrel Girl, and we're going to head back down to the easy tier. I think she belongs probably in front of Iron Man. So don't get it twisted. Squirrel Girl right now is really, really good. I think she's one of the best in the game at the moment. Her damage output is really good. She's good at forcing pressure. On maps where everyone is forced to be together, she thrives. Now, her ult did get buffed, and now it bounces onto people instead of just bouncing around the map, so that's a big help. So you don't have to aim that as much, hence why she's down here. Obviously, her nuts that she shoots out bounce off walls, so it's like Junkrat. You have to aim those, but at the same time, they're going to do the aiming for you, you know? So, great damage output, doesn't really have to aim a lot, but she does offer a lot of versatility in her movements, and she does also get a cooldown for her abilities that comes back instantly. So, really good character, super easy to pick up. Alright, next up is Star-Lord, and honestly, I think he's pretty tough, man. I'm going to put him in really skilled right there. So, for Star-Lord, obviously his ultimate is not hard. It's auto-aim, and it does a lot of damage for you. But everything that he does is pretty tough. So, obviously he flies around, he can flip around, and does damage almost like a tracer. And he's very mobile. The point is, you have to know when to go up and when to come back. Aiming with him can be also pretty tough, because obviously the guns that you're shooting are just very quick and they're not that long range. So I would recommend having the right cursor for him in order to get the headshots right. He does a great amount of damage if you know what you're doing with him. It's all about going in, getting some picks, and making sure you're coming back alive, because he can die pretty easily if you're not dodging correctly or if you're not flying away correctly. But like I said, he could be pretty tough with the abilities that he has, except for his ultimate. So I think really skilled is a good spot for him. All right, next up is Storm, and I still find it funny how she went from one of the worst characters in the game to probably the best in the game. But for her skill ceiling, honestly, I think it's pretty high. I would go there. Honestly, I think she's that difficult to learn. So for Storm, you're a DPS, yes, but you're also supporting your team because you have two forms. You have your Tornado form and your Lightning mode. I think that's what it's called. When you're in Tornado, you're giving your team movement boost, and when you're in Lightning mode, you're giving your team damage boost. You can also amplify that to give your team an even higher movement boost, or damage the other team and give your team a damage boost. And you also have to be careful on how high up you're flying, because the higher you go, the smaller of the radius the support is. So the lower you are, the more people you're able to help out with your abilities. Her ultimate's one of the best in the game, does a lot of damage. High skill ceiling for sure. Like I said, you have to be able to mix and match your movement speed boost and your damage boost for your team, and be able to hit your shots, because obviously she's a DPS. You still need to play as an attacker. So yeah, really high skill ceiling if you want to master Storm. Now we have Thor, and Thor for me, he's pretty tough, but not the toughest. I think I'm going to put him behind Magneto. I think Magneto's tougher than him. So for Thor, you have to play really aggressive with him. You don't have the Reinhardt shield like Doctor Strange and Magneto do, so you have to jump in there, get as many hits as possible, and come back without dying. And it could be tough sometimes. Obviously, his kit, not the most versatile. You do have the long range lightning ability where you're able to chuck it at people, which can be pretty good. But to really figure him out, you just have to go up there, pop your lightning shield, which gives you hammers, and just do as much damage as possible to the enemy supports and the DPSs and drop back. That's your role. You're a dive tank. You want to be really aggressive, but nothing crazy to his kit. His ult's pretty good, so that's really it though. I would put him right in the skill tier. Next up is the Punisher, and he's very simple, guys. He's gonna go right between Jeff and the Iron Man down here. So Punisher's a really good DPS right now. It's just like I said, he's very simple. If you've played a Call of Duty or any gun game, you've played as Punisher before. You're gonna go out there, you're gonna shoot people. You have a shotgun in case someone gets too close for you to do massive amounts of damage to make them go away. You have your turret, which, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. You put it down and you're going to be able to do massive amounts of damage as long as you're not getting hit back. He has a zip line, which lets him get up to higher areas to get better angles. And his ultimate is just a bunch of guns shooting at you. So, very simple kit, very productive with it, but very simple. Up next is Venom, and Venom for me falls in that same list of very easy to pick up, but very difficult to master. So, saying that, I'm going to put him... Am I going to put him up here? I am. I think I'm going to put him in the really skilled tier. So, like I said, picking him up, not that hard. You dive in and you get kills. That's your job. But knowing when to go in, knowing how to not die, knowing how to be a nuisance on the enemy team, and just knowing how to pick your targets can be really difficult. Now, this guy has great survivability. You go in there with your swing, dive in, get as much damage as you can, and then shield yourself, which goes back up to like half health, and then he gives a swing out. If you can do that productively over and over and over, you're going to be really good with this character. And you also need to learn who to hit with your ultimate. You don't go for the DPSs or the supports. You go for the vanguards. You want to get the most health possible out of your ultimate. So knowing all of that, knowing when to go in, knowing who to do damage to, and when to leave is really big. And that's why I think he belongs in the really skilled tier. Next up is Winter Soldier, and I'm going to put him at the top of skilled tier. So I don't think that his abilities are really that hard to learn. Obviously, you have the pull, you have the uppercut, and you have the one that you can shoot out to do some damage. But what I do think is hard with him is that you have to learn how to aim with him and his ultimate. So he only has 3 shots on his gun, and yes, he reloads pretty quickly, but you have to be able to hit those shots good because, like I said, there's only 3 shots in him. Massive headshot damage right there. And his ultimate. Now, obviously, everyone wants to hit his ultimate and go again and again and again. I get it. I've done it. It's the best thing ever. But you have to know when to use it. If you just pop it on a crowd of enemies that are full health and you're not able to get a kill, your ult is useless. You don't do anything. So knowing when to use it and knowing how to aim with your gun are really big, and that's why I think he belongs at the top of the skill tier. And finally, last but not least, we have Wolverine. And Wolverine, just like Storm, is one of those characters who went from all the way at the bottom to all the way at the top. And it's tough to use Wolverine correctly, really tough. Obviously, he's a hunter. His whole point is to go in the back line and find one guy straggling and just destroy them. And he's really, really good at that. Obviously, he can almost fly with his abilities. And he has his healing factor, which means that if he's getting attacked constantly, he can just heal and get out. He is also a tank destroyer. If he's in the back line and he sees a tank one-on-one, they're dead. They're not surviving whatsoever. The problem is with Wolverine, you have to have good healers on your team, because if you don't, you are not going to have fun. You are not going to win. Because this guy, yes, obviously you can go for the health packs, but you're constantly needing to be healed. So if you're not going back and forth getting heals and going back in, or if the healers are just not on you, it can be really tough for you. But a Wolverine who takes their time, knows what to do, and goes in and gets the right picks can be an absolute menace. So it does take a lot to get really good at Wolverine, but if you can get good with him, you are going to be a menace. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you liked the video. Remember that this is my list and my opinion, so if you didn't agree with everything I said, that's perfectly okay. If there's someone you think I should have ranked higher or lower, let me know in the comments. But it's my video. You probably watch this and you're like, oh my god, my Marvel Rivals knowledge is just expanded by 200%. If there's any other type of gaming content you want to see, go ahead and let me know in the comments, and I'll get to it as soon as possible. But until then, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.